Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Circle Club. I'm here with Marley of Marley Loves Films, with an S. How are you doing today, friend?
I'm doing great. This is a long time coming. Thank you for having me on your show. I love your show. I tune in pretty much every single time. Like when you talk about the White Lotus and The Last of Us, Star Wars, just everything in general. Thanks for having me.
I appreciate that. Yeah. And we've been in chat. Like we've never met each other, but we've been like, I feel like it's been like maybe 9+ months. Like I don't know. Like how long have we been talking to each other?
We met on TikTok. It's been a while. Like
honestly, it has to be over a year, right?
It has to be over a year at least now because we're in 2023. Yeah. I think like we started seeing each other's videos like end of 2021. Then we started talking in 2022. So. Yeah. Back
during the golden age of TikTok before
right.
fell apart.
Back when you post a video and nothing goes. It's like
yeah.
And we won't go
now
into
everything.
That.
Yeah, it's all professional. Yeah. We can have a whole video just talking about that.
Right.
If you don't know Marley, you got to go to his page. This is the #1 Fast and Furious fan in the world, and it's just amazing. He literally got me to end up going to binge these movies, and I haven't seen them in years, and it's just fantastic.
A little asterisk. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
A little asterisk. Yeah. I don't actually love them as much as my videos actually show. It's like I'm just a huge advocate for loving just media. Even if the movie is not necessarily made in the greatest way, there's still other aspects to find in the film that you can love about it. And what I love about Fast and Furious is that the action set pieces are just insane. Literally insane.
Totally. I feel the same way about John Wick. When I talk about John Wick, I feel that John Wick, it could have such a terrible storyline, but sometimes I just like to see that world and the coins and all that kind of thing. But we're here to talk about the Oscars, so why don't we just go ahead and jump right into it? So as we said, we're talking about the Oscars, some of the odds, what Vegas thinks, what we think, and let us know. If you've seen any movies recently, what are some of those movies? Have you seen any of these? And like I said, make sure you check out Marley's channel. But Marley, let's hop into it, friend.
Yeah, let's hop into
it. First off, we got Best Animated Short. I usually do a quick run right before the Oscars and try to get through these. But what's your relationship with this category?
I normally don't watch any of them leading up to the awards, and then usually Apple TV. I think it's actually Apple TV or Amazon will release all of them all at once, and I usually just buy them all in bulk, and I just watch them usually a day or 2 days before the award show, just so I can get an idea. I'm looking at My Year of Dicks. I'm wondering what that one is even about. I didn't even
It can be interpreted many different ways, right?
Right. I remember watching the nominations yesterday. When I forget his name.
Riz Ahmed.
Yeah, Riz Ahmed. He basically announced it, and just crowds of laughter. It's just funny. In a room full of professionnosa dick joke can still.
It always lands. What is your style of humor? Because I think we're gonna probably get into that anyways. Are you more dark humor? Do you like bathroom humor? What's your kind of thing here?
I'm just kind of all over the board. I like family humor, so you probably would have guessed that. Hashtag family.
Right. Hashtag family. Oh, never ends. So this category, I have no idea what to expect as far as odds go. Vegas thinks this movie, The Boy, the Mole, the Fox and Horse. So we'll take a look at that at some point. All right. So next category. This category infuriated me, but that's okay. We're gonna get into it, but I personally thought the amount of noise that RRR made last year and Decision to Leave, I was a little shocked. I was a little shocked that it was not a nominee. But have you seen any of these, and what were your thoughts?
I haven't seen any of them. I've heard really good things about EO. It's a Polish film, but it hasn't released anywhere near me, so I'm waiting for that to come out. I think that's coming out on Mubi here pretty soon. But
okay, awesome.
I totally agree with you about Decision to Leave, like being snubbed for Best International Film. It just seems like I don't understand why it's not here, because the Golden Globes nominated it, and I think SAG, it also got a nomination at SAG for Best like Foreign or International Film. RRR, RRR is one of my favorite films from last year, and after doing some research, I learned that India didn't actually nominate it. They didn't actually so just because they didn't nominate it, the Academy kind of overlooked it. So if you want to put any blame on that, India put their stock behind it, like other films besides RRR.
Yeah, and I think that happens, and I heard the same of Decision to Leave, but I don't know. It's sort of a shame when you hear the film political stuff gets in the way of these things, because I feel like with this award show, I mean, it's an American award show, but what does America represent, right? Everyone, everywhere, all at once, and and you know, I feel that.
Foreshadowing.
Yeah, exactly. And I just feel that to have such restrictions, and I get you can't have everyone be eligible, but to have such restrictions is a shame. I personally even feel with The Way of Water, which we'll get into later, that final push felt so just inorganic to me, and I don't really love that sort of aspect of the Oscars. But I did see All Quiet on the Western Front. I thought it was good. I don't like war movies. I'll go as far as to say I hate them. I don't like war movies, but this was pretty anti-war, anti-gun, all that kind of thing, and I thought it was well done. This is a German film. I also heard EO was really good as well. I was surprised that Bardo wasn't on here. The Alejandro Iñárritu film. That was a very bizarre movie. Did you see that one?
I haven't seen that one. I hear that's streaming on Netflix right now, right?
Yes.
I missed. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say I got through 20 minutes of it and I stopped because I was like, this is this is a lot. So I gotta finish.
Yeah, I just missed Bardo in theaters because it had Netflix does that weird week run where it's just if you don't see it within that first week, they're like, oh
yeah,
sorry. Just
I don't understand why Netflix doesn't I mean, maybe not a theater, but yeah, theater. They should just have a theater. If you have a Netflix subscription, you bring your card or whatever, you swipe through, you can watch whatever you want. I don't know. It feels like a missed opportunity there, and it stinks that some of these movies and TV shows we only get to consume it through streaming, or these little windows. And you and I, you're from California, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm from Boston. Those are pretty, film heavy major places, and we miss the window. So you can't imagine where someone from Middle America or wherever, there's just, and I think that's something that the film industry definitely needs to get better at, is distributing it to more people and making it accessible. And I think that's why streaming has taken over, but I think people deserve to be able to go out and enjoy a theater experience.
Yeah, and especially when you see all the stuff on Twitter coming out and saying like the director's coming out and saying oh, no one's seeing my film, box office numbers are down. I'm like, well, it's because no one could see your film. I'm like, they
legitimately can't see it or can't afford it.
Yeah, or they didn't know about it because it was poorly marketed. So, and that's a whole nother topic too. So
yeah, I was I think Disney just released a film not too long ago. It was not Trolls, but it was sort of in that fantasy world. Do you know which one I'm talking about?
Strange World.
Yes. Yes. Was that any good?
I saw it once. I took my niece to go see it, and I enjoyed it, but I think my niece didn't really enjoy it. My niece is like 3 years old, and no, 5. Yeah, sorry to my niece, but I think that it's something that kids can't really enjoy because there's a lot going on. I enjoyed kind of like the references to like older films like Journey to the Center of the Earth and like just like old sci-fi films, but my niece hasn't seen any of those films, so she was like, oh well, this is cool, it's like pretty colors, but
and that's just an example of like a movie that I didn't even know was like going to come out until it didn't. It was like your schedules are off, so that happens a ton. And I think with the international films, I just think we need to do a better job here of like showcasing some of those projects for sure.
Well, kind of like I said like before you started the stream, like my local theater is doing like for like all the short animated films and then the best international film, they're doing like a film festival where they're just showing as many as they can. Like just sign up on this day, and then like throughout this week you can see like these films. So
yeah, and I think there's a couple major chains that do that, like AMC and Regal, Cinemark, that like they have that little week. But yeah, I have like a local theater, Coolest Corner Theater, that they usually are ahead of the curve with these things, but I don't know, this year for some reason they just weren't getting a lot of these pictures that were coming out. So it was really a shame. I saw After Sun literally in a bank. It was a bank nearby was showing it in their like they have a theater room, and like I just caught it there. So
that's awesome. I love this type of experiences.
It was so funny because I enjoyed it, but there was this woman. She was an older woman. I think she was in her like 60s. She just stands like as soon as the film goes, she turns and goes, "That was a terrible movie." and I just like, and we start having a conversation. But it's like that's what I miss, having like meeting those people, having those little conversations, and like those little community sort of places. They're just perfect.
Right, because literally anyone can just walk in and just be like, "Watch this movie about a father-daughter relationship."
Exactly. Yeah. So best documentary feature. I usually watch the best documentaries. Last year, I'm not gonna lie to you, I feel like the last year or two, because of just real world issues being so heavy, like I've been very like I just need a break to take away from that kind of thing. But I'll definitely start to get back into it. The last like really, really great documentary I saw was 3 Identical Strangers. I think that one came out in like 2016 or something though. But have you seen any of these on here?
The only one I've seen is Fire of Love, and that's my pick to win it. Fire of Love is like the most emotional film that I saw last year. Basically about 2 volcanologists. I think that's the proper term. And it just kind of like documents their life on like kind of and just discovering like volcanoes and kind of like and learning about them.
Yeah.
But also how their relationship kind of forms throughout that. And I don't want to spoil it in case you don't know about like these people. But the ending, like, bring your tissues for Fire of Love.
I'm definitely gonna check some of these out. They usually, I will say, like the Oscars gets a lot of criticism, but I think the documentary section usually it does hold up. Typically, I think what the selection committee for this is always really well done. So I'll take your word for that because I haven't seen it obviously, but I did see this trailer. I remember, and I was like, wow, this seems like a beautiful. Like I imagine the cinematography is just gorgeous in this thing. So
yeah, it's really great. It takes a lot of like older footage too, and kind of like repurposes it. And some of the shots that they get, or some of the shots that they like reconstructed, were absolutely incredible. But. But I totally agree with you. Like the documentary feature has totally been knocking it out of the park. Like we had that Questlove documentary, like that one last year.
Yeah, Summer of Love.
It's so good, and yeah, I've watch it right now on Hulu. I think you can still watch it on Hulu. So
yeah, I think it's on Hulu. I think Hulu's distributed for that one.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's see. Best animated feature. And again, I'm not to sound like I don't know what I'm talking about, but I didn't really watch a lot of animated features either. I was like big on TV last year and movies, but this is sort of like a big controversy with the Oscars is they don't consider animated films to be films. They never are in the best picture. But I remember watching Turning Red and legitimately crying. And my girlfriend and I watched it together, and we were like, wow, this was like, it sort of had the same effect that Everything Everywhere did on me. And I just thought it was just a really beautiful film.
Mm-hmm. Turning Red, for me, I think was that return to form for me for Pixar. It seems like Pixar before Turning Red was very, I don't want to say that they're lackluster, but it just, there's something missing there. But Turning Red was one of my favorite Pixar films, like of last year, and at least in like the last decade. Like for me, just
I think
because
so.
of the representation. The representation I think is really solid there, and then I like the animation personally. Like I like the kind of like the nods back to like kind of like traditional anime. With like there, do you remember like those scenes where
totally
Mei Li,
it's like she gets shocked and it's like
yeah, it's so good, and the music too, which is
yeah, I think that like that was in particular why I really loved this last year too. Was like I think there's always this beauty into like, you know, looking at The Incredibles. You can see every little hair and detail and all these sort of things, but I think that hyper realistic style, not that it doesn't work, but I think there's something very novel and like nice about just having like an animation look like an animation, right? And that's where they really exceeded. The lighting, the music was awesome. It had
More
that
Towns
sort
Forever.
of like it had that like generational sort of like, this is my letter to my parent kind of story thing that we're seeing a lot of over the last couple of years. Marcel the Shell, I that was one I missed that I wanted to see, but I heard really good things about that. And I heard mixed reviews about Pinocchio, but I heard that the behind the scenes was really awesome.
I've seen every single one of these. I just recently saw Pinocchio, which I think that one's probably going to be the favorite to win, just because Guillermo del Toro won at the Golden Globes, and usually Golden Globes like to mirror what the Academy does. I think Marcel the Shell is pretty great, but I don't think it's gonna get totally in there because it's a mixture between live action and animation, and I feel like A24, which was the producer for Marcel the Shell, they might have won, just put it in animated feature because they didn't think it was as strong to put it in for Best Picture.
Makes
so
sense.
I've gotten a lot of heat on Twitter saying that Marcel the Shell isn't totally an animated movie, just because it's mixed.
It's mixed. It's like Who Framed Roger Rabbit sort of thing. Like, is that animation or is that live action? Like, it's kind of both. I think I tend to lean on it's more animated. I haven't seen Marcel, so I can't speak on that. But I think that like, I guess it depends on like what the majority is, because you still have to animate in it. But then at that point, is it just visual effects?
Yeah,
you know,
that's why it goes back to the whole Academy saying kind of like pushing animated feature to the side, where it's just like animation is a medium. It's not just for kids. It's like it can literally be anything. And I don't know.
You know what's really surprised me is the Puss in Boots push. I thought Puss in Boots was like sort of like a meme movie. I was like, everyone's like, yeah, Puss in Boots, and I was like, is this really good, or are people just kind of twittering? You know,
I can vouch for it and say that Puss in Boots it doesn't deserve to be as good as it is, because I kind of fell within the hype. I saw it like kind of popping off on TikTok and Twitter. I'm just like, why are people talking about this? Is this another Minions thing? Is another Gentle Minions thing?
Yeah.
And I bought a ticket, and like it literally was the best movie I saw in 2022, and I'm just
that's what everyone's been saying, and it's been like awesome. So I gotta like find time to see this thing. Like, but I know this is really controversial, but I think Shrek is kind of boring. I'm not a big Shrek person. I like the original, but like I don't know. Once it sort of got to like Shrek 4, 5, 7, whatever it is, I was already out by that point. So I saw Puss in Boots, and I'm like, another spinoff. But apparently this is its own thing. It's very powerful. So I'm excited for that.
But you like Into the Spider-Verse, right?
Yeah, and I heard it was very similar. Yep.
Yeah, if you like Into the Spider-Verse, it's the same animation style, and just like what they do with like that animation is like really it's really great. And like super creative, and just like I want more movies like in that style for the Spider-Verse. Yeah,
and that kind of goes back to what we were saying about Turning Red. It's like you want these animations to feel like animations, right? I didn't see the Sea Beast, and I actually haven't even heard of this one. Do you know anything about this?
I haven't seen the Sea Beast either. It's just another Netflix movie where it popped up on my feed, and I was just like, "Really, Netflix? How did you drag it?" And I'm like,
the cast seems pretty awesome, though. I mean, you got Carl Urban, who everyone knows as Butcher in The Boys. Jared Harris is in it. Dan Stevens. So I think it's got an interesting cast for sure. But I think this is going to be a very competitive. This is going to be a competitive category. I think it seems like Pinocchio's a favorite off of name, and people know Guillermo del Toro. But I wouldn't be surprised if Puss in Boots snuck in there and somehow pulled that off.
Right. I wouldn't be surprised either, especially since it's kind of like whole recency bias. It came in kind of at the last minute and just kind of basically took Del Toro's lunch. So
right,
yeah. But out of all the categories, like I wouldn't be mad if any of those won. So it's like
I got a couple categories like that where I'm like, honestly, we had a really good year for film. It really was a good year.
Yeah.
All right. Best visual effects. So Avatar: The Way of Water is currently the favorite for this. I liked The Way of Water, and I did not like I think Way of Water is better than the original. I don't like Avatar, but as I was saying earlier, this whole thing has felt so inorganic, so manufactured, so Disney trained, like just pushed so heavily, where it's almost like they're telling us, no, this movie's great, and like James Cameron was such a douche, like leading up to it, like everything he's been saying is awful, so I really don't want them to win for that fact alone, honestly.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, but if they were to win one award, I feel like visual effects is the one that you give to them.
Totally.
And it's like, yeah, I understand that you worked hard on it, not James Cameron himself, but his visual effects team at Weta. Like whatever Weta is doing, it's like miles ahead above like what Marvel is doing and Industrial Light and Magic and the whole volume that they use. Avatar. I hate to say it, but All Quiet on the Western Front, Top Gun, Batman, Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, they don't have a chance because it's like...
no. I mean, and those are all fantastic, but when you talk about visual effects, I mean, there's a reason this took 10 years to pull off, right? It shows. It totally shows.
Yeah, and like I wasn't the biggest fan of Avatar: Way of Water. I'm just kind of tired of like the whole franchise at this point. And it's like, but I will admit that the water scenes in Way of Water actually looked really good, and I'm like, I understand. Like,
I think it really benefits them. Yeah, it benefits them that Wakanda Forever came out, because those water scenes I don't think were done well. personally. I think they were way too dark. It didn't really have that vibrance that we expected, I think, and so I think it definitely benefits them to have sort of that contrast. And like you said, recency bias is always huge.
Right.
Best sound.
One thing I'll
yeah.
I'll piggyback on like what you said about Wakanda Forever, how it didn't look as good, is that Wakanda Forever was also going for a different theme too.
That is true.
It wasn't
That's fair.
Like Way of Water was more of like a kind of like a light, airy kind of like kind of feel
world
to
building, open, like this is who we are kind of thing. Yeah.
And Wakanda Forever was more like grief and kind of like it dipped into that colonialism, which if some people on Twitter, it seems like Avatar should have dived into that too, because like the whole movie is about colonialism, just it's not expressed.
Yeah, well, when it all depends on who's making the project, and we know there are certain people, let's say, who don't really think that those are as big of issues. I mean, I was a little offended personally because James Cameron said that this was an interracial story, which I mean, yeah, I guess, but like, yeah. So
yeah,
it's like you don't tell an interracial story without talking about some of those elements, right? So yeah. But all right, so best sound. What do you think about this one before I get into it?
Usually this category is kind of the Academy is always kind of predictable when it comes to this. Whenever there's a biopic or a musical biopic, they always give it to that, because it's like, it's got music in it that has sound, so let's give it to Elvis. But if I were to pick one, I would pick Top Gun Maverick. Like here, just because I don't know, just like the sound mixing and sound editing of the way they had to like kind of like film like everything, like when they're up in the air and just kind of like and just kind of
the dynamic
together. But to be honest, like I usually, like when I do my poll when the Oscars come out, this is just something that I just kind of just pick at random at some point, because I'm not a sound guy.
I mean, I really appreciate sound. I used to actually be a music producer like years and years ago, and like I think you hit the nail on the coffin with this one. All Quiet on the Western Front, it has a lot of those typical war sounds that you know, and like it definitely felt that way. But the thing about Top Gun is you felt when you were sitting in that seat like you were in the airplane, because the sound like created this sort of like nauseating feel to it, you know. And I think like if Top Gun's gonna win something, it should be this. I think it would make sense that it was this and like potentially visuals, but like I thought that, you know, this was one of those movies that I was not expecting to enjoy. I wasn't expecting to like, and I went and saw it twice in the same week, because I was like, wow, I gotta check this out again. And it really had this like profound feeling of like this was made for the movie theater, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I've seen this film 6 times, and I don't actually rewatch movies all that much, especially in theaters. But Top Gun Maverick was it's one of those movies you have to see like on the big screen. And like when it came to Paramount Plus, I'm like, I don't really want to watch this on my TV.
Yeah, same thing happens.
It's like I want to like give it up to Tom Cruise. Like when this movie first came out, like or I think it was supposed to originally come out in 2020, like with the pandemic, but Paramount wanted to push it to streaming because theaters were closed, and Tom Cruise basically just said no, we're waiting. And I'm like, it's a good thing they listened to him, because it's like $2 billion franchise, Top Gun Maverick. I'm like, it's kind of crazy.
And I think sometimes as a consumer, like we sort of get lost where we like, you know, we're like, okay, the artist is being an artist, where they're talking about you have to go enjoy cinema, right? Like, but like, no, like there's some truth to that. Like some of these things are made for the big screen. I don't really love 3D, but I thought that worked super well with Avatar: Way of Water. And it was clear that that's what their intention was with it. I will be curious if Top Gun works via streaming, because it feels just like something that you really like. My TV speakers aren't really that great, so I'm like, how does that affect that? And also, like just having that like visual experience, like, so I am curious to know like how that all ends up and turns out, but definitely think this is one that Top Gun could pull off for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Now this one, I like. There's 3 here that I like. I really like This Is a Life with Everything Everywhere All at Once. Like when that credit scene hits, I was like, no. It was so beautiful. It was so beautiful. The song Natu Natu and RRR was awesome, but I think it's sort of like the popular vote. Lift Me Up might win this with Rihanna.
Yeah, the popular vote might win it because especially Rihanna, she's at the Super Bowl too. Super Bowl, like would be Super Bowl just happened at that point, right? I don't know when the Super Bowl is.
Yeah.
So they're probably riding the high of Rihanna. I was really surprised that This Is a Life got in because I don't think it really got nominated anywhere else. Like Soon Looks, the composer for, or the person that wrote the score for Everything Everywhere All at Once. Yeah, I was surprised that they got recognized, but I was thrilled when I saw it there. But I totally agree with you. I think RRR, Natu Natu, like it's clean sweeping everywhere. It's kind of unfortunate. Like if India were to actually like if they promoted like RRR. If they're winning for Best Song, they probably would have won Best International Film if they promoted it. So it's kind of disappointing that.
And I wonder too sometimes, like, because there's a lot of eggheads sometimes who are voting in these things, and like they don't watch a lot of these films. And I think, you know, when you get that ballot sent to you at home and you're filling it out, like it says "Lift Me Up, Rihanna." Hold My Hand, whoever. This is, you know, and like there are some people who just go, oh, I like Rihanna, check, you know. So and as you said, they're gonna be the Super Bowl's coming up soon. That's gonna be the talk of the town, and all everyone's gonna be talking about. And I don't think she's gonna perform "Lift Me Up," but like there's a potential, right? I mean, it's really like, I think the thing about "Lift Me Up" is it's really like a pandemic type of song when you like, you know, you're looking back at all the grief and the loss, and you know, if she presents it at the Super Bowl that way, I think it'll definitely it could pull it past Natu Natu. So
but I don't know. We'll see. This is always a toss-up. The thing that I don't particularly care for about Best Song, especially when you're talking about the whole ceremony, is that the Oscars, you usually really do a bad job of like just presenting these, like except for Shallow, like when they had Bradley Cooper and Lady Gaga sing like on stage, they literally come out of the crowd, and the way that whole scene was lit, like everyone go look it up on YouTube. Like that is it's like probably one of my favorite performances. But other than that, like the acoustics of like that whole of the arena, just the way everything's presented, it seems so off. Like I remember, like
I know what you mean. It's like almost as if like the person was just sitting in the crowd and just decided to give them a microphone.
Like I remember back. This was years ago with the Oscars. Like I watch the Oscars like every single year, even though it's bad and I'm bored. But when Hustle and Flow was nominated for Best Song for what's that song? Shoot, I just had it, and I'll
look it up for you.
It's Hard Out There for a Pimp from Hustle and Flow. They nominated that, and just like that. I don't know. It's like, I don't know. It was almost like the Academy was like, "Hey, we're cool. We nominated.
Yeah.
It's like
this category definitely feels that way sometimes. It definitely feels that way. Hey, we're hip. We get it, kids.
Right.
Yeah.
You like Rihanna, right?
Exactly. Best score. So I haven't seen The Fabelmans, which, by the way, and quick yes or no, Fabelmans worth the watch?
I gave it 3 stars on Letterboxd. Wasn't out of 5. I wasn't.
Okay.
I feel like it's not like offensive. I don't understand like the praise around it. Like I don't think it's like the greatest Steven Spielberg film like ever. Yeah. But and I don't know. It felt a little empty to me. A little empty.
I this was sort of one like I've seen all of them except 2, and this was one that I was really dreading to watch because it just has that Oscar bait to it. It just feels like I don't know, and it almost felt like a personal or passion project, and that's fine. But I was a little surprised that it's gotten so much praise. But best score here, Babylon did a really good job, and I'm surprised this film in general wasn't received as well as people thought, because I did enjoy that. But I would say on this list for me, probably Babylon, honestly. What about you?
Yeah, I would. My choice is Babylon too, but if I personally, I think Babylon's gonna win, and I want it to win. But if I were to pick one, I would pick Everything Everywhere All at Once. Just the emotion that they kind of like put into that movie with the score. I think I'm saying that name right. Son Luke's.
Let me look. I'll look it up.
Yeah, but I just love every aspect of Everything Everywhere All at Once, like including the score, cinematography, and production design.
I agree, and I think there's sometimes where like you sort of feel like it's a popular thing to say now, but that's fine, right? That's fine. It's a reason why it's popular and loved. Like I remember I still have the stuff. Like I saw this movie in March of last year. My girlfriend and I had just got COVID, and we hadn't gotten COVID the entire time, really. And we were like finally kind of healed. We're like, let's go out. We went to our local theater. We just chose a random one. We're like, what is this Everything Everywhere movie? All right. Walked in, and I walked out of it like, this movie, if this movie doesn't win Best Picture or like is in the conversation, that is a crime. And I think you're right. It's that score is really. More people should talk about it. More people should talk about the score.
Yeah, it's muted. It's a muted score, but it's muted for a reason. Especially when you're talking about a certain scene that I'm pretty sure everyone's has seen already, but it's like it involves 2 rocks. The way that score kind of like, even though it was silent, but it knew when to cut and knew when to come back in. It's like so good. I love that movie so much.
Amazing. I might watch it tonight, dude. Honestly,
I'm gonna. I've made a goal for myself. I'm gonna watch it every single day up until the Oscars, just because. You got the Blu-ray? Yeah, I got the Blu-ray.
Yeah.
So
same. Yeah, you must. It's a must.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see. Best production design. I will go down fighting for Babylon on this one. Like, and I really liked I like these other ones as well, but I thought Babylon, and I cannot understand the hate it's gotten, but like the production on this, I was like, wow, this is super impressive. And that's Damien Chazelle's like tea, in my opinion. That's really, he really nails his craft, is making like it feel like a full-on production that's been really considered.
Yeah, I totally agree. Damien Chazelle is like, he's all about spectacle. He's all about like let's go all in. And I think that the production design is like A+ for Babylon.
Yeah.
But I feel like if I were to remove one from here, no hate, but Avatar: Way of the Water, I have no idea why it's even here. Like, I understand that you building sets like virtually is still like a form of production and design, but I feel like the like, I know I was just like slobbering all over everything everywhere, but it makes it, I don't understand why Avatar gets the nod here but not everything everywhere. So
I agree. I would honestly say you could make an argument that that it's a snub because even in that little laundromat, they do so much with it. And then you look at when they go upstairs, and like, to me, production design doesn't always have, like, there's two sides of it, right? Like, it doesn't always have to be Babylon. It doesn't have to be a big spectacle to like have really nice mise-en-scène and like really good focus, right? And I think you're right that Everything Everywhere All at Once definitely does do that. So,
and just like the prop design too. Joshua Brahmer, prop master Josh on TikTok. He like just like the way, like, even like Ki Kwan's like his like headset that he uses to hop like universes or multiverses. Like, it's just like a standard Bluetooth headset, but the way that they like designed it to make it look like, oh wow, this is like actually legit. I think that's like that's a level of creativity that I love, of just taking like ordinary objects but like making it and adding to the story and stuff like that.
Right?
Yeah, exactly.
You know, exactly.
Or the googly eyes. Like,
right. Or the hot dog fingers. Like, I mean, so it's that, and like, that is, to me, like, I feel like movies in general don't use props enough, and and it can feel a little gimmicky at certain places, but like, that is, as I mentioned John Wick earlier, like, that's something I really enjoy about John Wick, is like, you have these little coins and you have these little props that sort of stick out. But yeah, I do think Babylon is going to win this category. Elvis might be a sleeper just in general at this show, so we shall see.
I hope Elvis doesn't win anything, to be honest. That's going to be controversial a little bit later. Like, what, the categories a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed it, but I just thought there was so many better films. There were just so many. And my controversial take is I think Tom Hanks is terrible. I thought he was terrible.
I thought he was terrible too. So
yeah, I thought that accent was weird. I thought, like, when there were serious moments, he took me out of it. But yeah, we'll get into that. The Whale. That I was like speechless when we got the official noms that The Whale wasn't on here more. I did not see The Whale yet, but the way it's been praised, my God, like, totally shocking that it wasn't involved in more categories.
Yeah, this is gonna be a little controversial, but I wasn't really the biggest fan of The Whale. Like, I remember, I think there's a problem, especially with social media these days and everyone hyping up like every movie. I saw The Whale kind of late, and I was kind of going in like expecting like this great Brendan Fraser performance and like this great like movie about like just like obesity and like just kind of like body positivity. Granted, I have not seen the play, so I wasn't kind of like, I didn't know anything about that. And I thought that like I found it very fat phobic. I found it just a little bit homophobic too. And just I just found it a little bit disgusting. But
interesting.
If I were to kind of pick like any movie for makeup and hairstyling, I think The Whale is kind of like the right choice to go here because of like the whole fat suit and like and just like the way everything was kind of dressed. Like, I've been very confused about this whole Brendan Fraser like resurgence kind of thing. Like, I mean, because I watched the show Doom Patrol, which he plays in, and like he's in a couple other things. He's been in things, you know, they haven't been like The Mummy per se, but like he's been in things. But like everyone's been acting like this guy, you know, had like
a couple months left to live or something. It's been very weird, the whole like campaign, like everyone's acting as if like this, like, I mean, you look at I cannot say his name for the life of me. Is it Ki Hoi Kwan?
Yeah, Ki Hoi Kwan.
Yeah, like that is a comeback story to me. You know, like he literally was not in the industry. Brendan Fraser, like, yeah, he wasn't spearheading a lot of these projects, but he was still around. But I don't know, that whole campaign is just very confusing to me. But I gotta see it. But everyone says that this like fat suit thing, he like literally had like a actual heavy suit on, and it affected how he moved. And it seems as if like that's a big thing. But I would give this one, I think, to Elvis, because I did feel that Austin Butler really transformed his entire being to be that man. So
in fact, he can't even break it. Like every interview he's doing, broken. He's broken.
He's broken.
Yeah.
What would you give this to?
I think, I don't know. Like I said, I would give it to The Whale, but
yeah,
another movie that has a fat suit in it that a lot of people aren't really talking about. This is The Batman, like Colin Farrell.
Yep. Like, yeah, I was gonna get into that later. Yep.
I don't think it's gonna win at all, but like I have to go rewatch The Batman because just like everything like about
I love The Batman.
Like just like the makeup and stuff like that, like the Riddler and stuff like
that. It was that, like, I had The Batman as, and if I had like a gun to my head last year, I would have never said that I thought The Batman was gonna be like a movie to just go, that was one of the best last year. But you're right. I mean, the Penguin, the Batman himself, that honestly, set design, like there was a lot of good with that, especially for DC, which is shocking a lot of times.
Yeah, especially since they're a little bit in shambles too. In a way, I kind of don't want to give them the award because that's kind of giving them props. But
it's reinforcing their bad behavior.
Yeah, but hopefully that they're changing with, especially with James Gunn.
Yeah. We'll see. We'll see what happens there. But yeah, I think that this is probably The Whale. But you and I are on the same page. I would have voted for The Batman probably, or Elvis. Personally.
If you're gonna give an award to any to The Batman, I feel like that's kind of the right one to give him to. So.
Yeah. Now I take this one very personally because I've been editing since I was a wee baby, and I think that it's criminal, and I mean criminal, not to give this one to Everything Everywhere All at Once, because so when she's verse jumping, there's that whole design, like, is not that comprehensive how they actually executed it, but it's how they edit those beats and how they edit that sequence that makes it feel a lot more intense than it is. And there was just a lot of just like very practical effects going on there that has to do with editing. There's a really famous, like, I can't remember the movie. It was like a bunch of Charlie Chaplin type movies where they would just have things appear in the sky and disappear, and like you got to get things in the perfect spot. So I think this for me would go to Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Yeah, I'm looking at the numbers. It seems like it's pretty close. It's pretty close here, and that totally makes sense to me.
Yeah,
I wanted to go to Everything Everywhere, but after like looking at watching a lot of the behind the scenes for Top Gun Maverick, what the editor was able, I think that the award might actually go to Top Gun Maverick, just because it might fall within the same lines of like when Bohemian Rhapsody won for film editing. I know that was controversial, but the Academy likes to award movies that, like, especially like when they have a lot of footage, like Top Gun Maverick. I think Top Gun Maverick had like over like 900 hours of like footage that you have to like sift through. So this might be like a sympathy award to like the editors, where it's like, I'm not trying to like.
I know what you mean.
I know what you mean. But But
Well, it's about the story that you're packaging when you're telling these things, right? And like,
mm-hmm.
and I think because on the flip side of with Everything Everywhere is they shot a lot of that in different countries. They try to make it match the footage together to make it feel that way. But
Mm-hmm.
they had the opposite of Top Gun, where they had less footage, and so they were like, because I think they had like I want to say like a 90-day shoot, or if that, something really really small. So that was sort of one of the things, like, you got to work with what we got. I wouldn't be surprised if the whole rocket concept came up because they were like, not that they didn't have enough footage, but they were just like with budgetary restrictions, like this is how we have to make this work.
Yeah, it's like you said, the complete opposite. It's like Top Gun, like working with literally everything, and then Everything Everywhere working with like as little as possible.
Right.
And I feel like when it comes down to that, it's almost gonna be like a coin flip for this.
It will be. It will be. And I think and deserve it. I think both would deserve it.
Yeah, because I think that it's like it takes a lot of effort just taking like all that hours, 900 hours of footage, and turning it into a watchable, like a movie that flows nicely, and just like an entertaining movie. Like it takes a lot.
and I would say too, the other two comparisons is, like, you look at Top Gun, the story itself really isn't that powerful to me, but it still gets you hooked. It still gets you like pulled in, and you're like invested. Whereas the editing and Everything Everywhere, it does the opposite. So it is really very interesting how these things are very parallel but very polar at the same time.
Yeah. But yeah, it's a toss-up for me.
Yeah. All right, best costume design. Ooh, I actually don't know about this one.
I think that it, like, I didn't do my research on this part, but I think they normally give it to, if there's a period piece, it normally gives they give it to something like Mrs. Harris Goes to Paris, like a period piece there,
right?
Because it's like getting like the costumes from that era and making it accurate. Like they like awarding stuff like that, but looking at the numbers, it seems like it's not tracking very well. So
yeah,
Black Panther. If you're gonna, you gotta give Black Panther an award, especially with like everything that movie went through.
Yeah,
like...
and the costume designer for Black Panther is Ruth E. Carter, and she did Malcolm X. She did. I think she just recently win? Look it up. Oh wait, she won for the original Black Panther. So it is possible. I mean, it was definitely cool to see some of the things. I don't know, like Marvel is. I go back and forth with Marvel, but like I don't know. It's tough. Like if you're gonna give Marvel something, it's usually within the costumes or special effects or maybe a song. I mean, Babylon to me, I know Babylon doesn't get a lot of love, but I think that could have been considered as well. Like that was a period piece that they did phenomenally. So
pretty much, I would say about three of these nominees are period pieces. You got Elvis, Babylon, and Mrs. Harris Goes to Paris, which I haven't seen, but I feel like the Academy might sway in that direction. But like looking at the numbers, I'm starting to not feel as comfortable about that. Like
and as you said, Black Panther has to win something. Like regardless of how you feel, like some of these things just come down to the politics of it. Like there's a few years ago, like Disney was like, and some other studios were like giving like nominations with iPads. Like there's a lot of like push sometimes for these certain things, and Disney definitely wants to be able to re-release this at some point. They definitely want to be able to package this Black Panther trilogy at some point to be like, this is the one that got actual Academy Awards, with Black Panther 1 and Black Panther 2, and we'll get into Angela Bassett later, but I think Black Panther probably is the one that's gonna end up getting this.
And like Elvis makes sense too, just because like the Academy is like, I like Elvis and he looked like Elvis, so I'm like dressed like Elvis, so I'm like
and I think like there's a few categories the Academy is willing to sacrifice, not to sound pretentious, but like that's how these people are, where they're like, all right, we'll give them being us, the commoners, the regulars, we'll give them one, you know, and it's usually this sort of category, I'd say.
Right.
Best cinematography. This, for me, I was really ticked off that Decision to Leave was not involved here.
Yeah, I totally agree. Like,
very ticked off.
I don't even know what to pick here, because I've only seen one of these movies. Like, I haven't seen Empire of Light, and I feel like that's probably going to be the pick, because Roger Deakins, the GOAT Roger Deakins. Like, how do you vote against him, even though they did for 25 plus years? But we won't.
Right.
But Tar, I haven't seen.
I did see Tar. Tar was awesome. Tar was like, fantastic. Like I think I told you off screen, but I used to be a classical music kid. I used to do classical music singing. And like, so you constantly with like orchestra kids and composers and different composers, and like she nailed that role. As far as cinematography go, kind of a weird category, I'm not gonna lie. It definitely was a beautiful film, but like I was certainly shocked that this was there. Maybe I don't know, maybe I wasn't paying attention as much as I thought I was. There was some interesting shots, but again, Decision to Leave, not be here in Tar. Decision to Leave, not to be here in Elvis.
Right. Or Empire of Light, like a film that just critically was just destroyed. It was destroyed by critics. Everyone hates Empire of Light from what I see from the outside.
Yeah.
You could have swapped,
because I was like, and I love what's her face? What is her name? Olivia Colman. And I was like, I don't have time for this one.
Personally, I think you could have swapped Empire of Light and Elvis and put Nope and Decision to Leave in those spots, and I would have been happy. Like I mean,
I could cry right now on camera because Decision to Leave is not in this category. So like it was
Decision to Leave's like cinematography. Like there's shots in there, but like I was literally sitting in the theater, and I literally like jumped out of my seat. I was like,
no,
what? Park Chan-wook, like what the heck?
Yeah.
Like seriously.
I have like around my room some different posters and like I've been waiting to like find the right shot, and I'm definitely gonna get some because it was just so gorgeous. I wouldn't be surprised if like Bardo, well, I mean, according to these odds, Bardo doesn't have a great shot, but Bardo was such a weird one. Like, I'm telling you, just watch like a couple minutes of this thing, you're gonna be like, what is going on? But like, that's Alejandro Iñárritu's thing. He likes to have these weird shots and like very like meticulously thought out things. Like, it sort of has that like one shot continuous loop thing going. There's a scene in this that they shot it continuously for like 35 minutes or something crazy, that they rehearsed it, and like you can't even really tell fully. Like, I mean, it's definitely deserved. And if there was gonna be a sleeper, I would say Bardo is that sleeper. I just watched All Quiet on the Western Front, and like, I don't know, it's good, but it looked like 1917.
Yeah, I think I don't know. I think I was honestly surprised, like when I did my live stream reacting to all the nominees, like on Instagram, I was surprised All Quiet got nominated for pretty much everything. Like they're pretty much in every single category.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead, finish.
What I was gonna say is that I think that All Quiet might not win anything. Like they may be nominated in every single category, but Netflix might just strike out again. That they'll just get mentioned, but they won't win anything.
You know, the thing that I have little faith in is older white voters, and they are just so obsessed with World War I and II. And not to get too political, I just think, like, are there no other wars that have happened?
Right.
You know, I mean, like, and again, this was a good film, and it was very anti-war and all that stuff, but, like, it's just they can't help themselves but, like, pick these movies sometimes. And,
well, that's, like, I'm sure, like, if any of you have gone to film school, it's like, that's basically all film students talk about. It's like drama, war, and, like, heartbreak. It's like, it's like, hey,
or coming to age.
Throw some love in your life. Throw some family in your life. I'm just kidding. I won't go there.
Oh my god, yeah. Can't wait for Nepo Baby, the movie, to come out this year.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Best original screenplay. Now, Banshee was. Did you see Banshee?
Yeah, I've seen Banshees.
I thought Banshee was awesome. I like it. Just that, like, what they. It's such a simple idea, right? But, like, what it's talking about has such large feelings and emotion. Tar, I thought Tar was, like, based on, like, a real person because it was so well written. But yeah, I mean, you guys know what we're gonna say here. Everything, Everywhere, All at Once.
Yeah, Everything Everywhere should sweep every category it's nominated in, because, like, it's like there's no contest. Although I did love Banshee's screenplay, I feel like if this is a race that Everything Everywhere could lose, and it has the right to lose, and I wouldn't be mad if it lost, because Banshee is such a really tight script. But who are you kidding? It's like give it to the Daniels.
This is one of those things. It's like, don't overcomplicate this. Give it to Everything Everywhere. But yeah, Banshee, like you said, it was such a tight script. I want to actually read the physical script, because I was just like, man, like I gotta see how this was executed, because some of these choices, dude, it was like, wow. Like, I mean, like, when he actually loses the finger and throws it, like, I was like, wow. And I mean, it's just the way everyone executed what was on that screenplay. I felt like I was watching two friends, like, really just fall out of a relationship.
And it's so simple too. But I noticed
simple's, like, good. What's wrong with simple?
Right. You know? But if I were to put in a sleeper, and I know you just watched this film last night. Yeah. Like, a sleeper, Triangle of Sadness, best original screenplay.
Wait, I didn't even read that was there. Oh my god.
Yeah.
No, yeah. I thought you were being. I'm not gonna lie, dude. I thought you were being a little hyperbolic. I was like, because you were like, no, this is number one. This is the best. I was like, how did I not even hear about Triangle of Sadness? Like, you were right. That was. Like, if I had to put any other film next to Everything, Triangle was right there. It was that was an amazing film. The one knock I have is it was gross. It was a little gross, and that's not really my style per se. Like, but it was a little gross. Other than that, but it made sense. That's why I couldn't be mad at it, you know?
Right. And I know that you're a big fan of White Lotus, and you got me onto White Lotus season 2.
Yeah.
I was watching that a lot last year.
Yeah.
And I will have to say that Triangle of Sadness does everything that the White Lotus does. Like, I don't want to say better, because it works for other people. But it's my type of humor when you're talking about, like, that eat the rich and just, like, and white people are bad and stuff like that. Triangle of Sadness.
It's like Mike White doesn't go there, you know?
Mm-hmm. Like he sees it. Mike White looks through the window, but he doesn't go through the door. Triangle of Sadness looks through the window and busts its way open. So I'm like,
when I direct messaged you last night, and I was like, I thought you didn't like Triangle of Sadness, is because that's where I got confused. The White Lotus connection. Because you told me at the time, you're like, I feel like the White Lotus is good, but it's like a poor man's Triangle of Sadness, and I must have completely went over my head. But you're right. No, that's a completely accurate description. They just don't go there. I mean, I particularly love the scene where you know what? Give me a moment so I can look up these names, because I don't want to butcher this. Because these actors really.
Dolly Leon. Are you talking about her?
No. Dolly. God, she was unbelievable. But it's the guy who plays Dimitri, Zlato Beric, and Woody Harrelson, where they're in the room just absolutely drunk, and Woody's Woody's supposed to be this like Marxist, like socialist sort of guy, and he's like full on capitalism. I was literally in tears, dude. In tears. It was so funny. It just them going back and forth about this ideology. Then he goes, and then Dimitri's like, "Here, say it on the microphone." And meanwhile, everyone is just in absolute disarray. What's going on? Like, that was a beautiful screenplay, dude. Oh, and thank you for suggesting that one to me, man. Like, I'm so glad that I watched that film.
I'm really glad you enjoyed it, because it was my #1 movie of 2022. Like, it's on Letterboxd, you can go check it out on the list I made. So I'm like, I didn't think that Everything Everywhere would trump, like, would because it was my #1 throughout the entire year until I saw Triangle of Sadness. I didn't think anything was going to trump it, but Triangle of Sadness did it. So
yeah, and I think for me, I don't know if you've ever experimented with any shrooms or drugs or anything like that, but I've taken shrooms in the past, and like I felt like what Everything Everywhere All at Once did was like it takes that same experience of like just overwhelming, and like your parents, and like, you know, how we all feel so significant and such, but at the same time insignificant. Like it had a lot of those themes, which I really, really loved. But Triangle of Sadness, the themes were just a lot more right there for you, right? And the way it starts out in that first act with the whole modeling industry and this kid aging out of the modeling industry, I just did not see that coming at all when I pressed play, you know? So like the screenplay, you're right. You know, when I really look at this, I think Triangle of Sadness, probably the best screenplay on here. Everything Everywhere, then Banshee, then Tar, and then The Fabelmans. But this was a very beautiful movie for sure, Triangle of Sadness.
Yeah, I'm really glad you enjoyed it. Where did you watch it? Like, if you don't mind.
Apple. I had to watch it on Apple.
Okay.
I couldn't. I looked up and there was no screenings. Like I said, and that's what's just so frustrating about this season is and I might if they end up showing it somewhere, I'll go back and watch it in the theater just to get that sort of experience. But I watched it on Apple, and Apple and Mubi have a lot of these films. So. All right, let's get on to the next one here. Best Adapted Screenplay. I haven't seen The Women Talking. That was the only one, and The Fabelmans. Those are the only two I haven't seen.
Yeah, I haven't seen Women Talking, and I haven't seen Living either. But normally, I don't know. Best Adapted's kind of a weird category. Just because usually when there's a sequel, they usually give it to they usually give it to the sequel. So yeah. I think my money would probably be on Glass Onion or Top Gun Maverick, kind of just because they're building on the original.
Yeah.
I haven't seen Women Talking. I hear it's really great. Sarah Polley, like just a masterclass like filmmaker and just in the industry. I'm excited to see it. So
yeah, that was one of those that I was like, going back to what I was telling you, it's super heavy topic, Women Talking. So you got to be in the right headset for kind of some of those movies sometimes, and like after a long day at work, you're like, I just want to watch Abbott Elementary.
I'm glad you mentioned Abbott, just because, to be honest, like the last couple months, it's like my headspace hasn't really been like all there, but and I haven't really watched a lot of movies, and like I just always go back to Abbott, like Abbott Elementary. I'm just like, I just put that on. I'm just like,
the new episode tonight, I think. So
I'm gonna tune in for that.
But yeah, I think this one, I'll trust the Academy and just the buzz. I would say Women Talking. Glass Onion, I didn't like the last act as much as I had hoped. And Top Gun, I haven't seen the original Top Gun, and I have no intention to ever see it because it's just so 80s. But I mean,
you gotta watch it.
But from what I've heard, everyone says that the second is much better than the first, which is a really hard feat. So,
and especially like it's a sequel to a movie that came out 20 years ago too.
Right.
It's like they're able to make something make it a success. So
right.
Yeah.
This category, I'd be happy for any of these people to win. Except Judd Hirsch, because I didn't see that one. But
his monologue's really great in The Fabelmans.
I heard Spielberg said like this was the man to play his father, right?
Yeah. But do we have to have much of a debate on this one, or a talk, just because it's Ke Huy Quan?
No. I mean, he's gonna win this. He's an industry darling. When you have Spielberg and all these other like producers backing you, like there's no shot that he doesn't win this. Like if he doesn't win this, I would not be surprised if people just turned it off.
Yeah, and I think that he's going to win it too alone, just for ratings too, just because every single speech that Ke Huy Quan has given has brought me literally to tears. And the Academy likes those moments where they like people being emotional. So I think and they've seen like the past award shows, so they're like, let's give it to Ke Huy Quan so we can get those ratings up, so we can.
And then you have there was a lot over the past year and a half, a lot of Asian hate and violence going on. There was even just that tragedy recently that happened. But
the shooting in Monterey Park.
Yeah, and that wasn't a hate crime, I don't think, but it was still tragic. So I think it just sort of makes sense, and and he's been a ray of sunshine for the Asian community, I think, and well deserved too. That aside. If you had to pick one other person that wasn't Ke Huy Quan, who would you pick?
Barry Keoghan from Banshees. His performance is heartbreaking. I was actually really glad to see him get nominated, because I knew Brendan Gleeson was going to get in there just because it's a great performance. But Barry Keoghan, I need to watch Game of Thrones. I need to watch Game of Thrones because I hear he's really great in that. But he was great in Banshees. So
he was awesome. All right. This one's
tough.
This one, I would be lying to you if I told you I didn't want Angela Bassett to have this award. Because the thing about Marvel, the stench about Marvel, is that they get so caught up with these quips, these immature jokes, these Thor Love and Thunder kind of moments. And not to, scratch that. Take Thor Love and Thunder out, because there's so many of their movies that do that, where you have a serious thing and then you just break that character or that moment. But when Angela Bassett goes to the UN and gives that speech, you feel like you were in the principal's office, you felt like it was you and your mom's just getting scolded. But she also had this sadness to her, but this power of like, hey, you do that again, we're fucking you up. And then when you just think about the ridiculousness of like what you're actually watching, these people in costumes and superheroes, it's like her performance was just so powerful, and it resonated throughout the film, even though she wasn't there. So that's my case for Angela Bassett. I think I would love to see her win this, and she's another person in this industry who's been in so many films, overlooked for so long, that I think it's sort of one of those, it's her time moments.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I would love Stephanie Hsu to just come in and just like and take this away from Angela.
Yeah.
But Stephanie Hsu, I'm glad that she's here, but it's well deserved. But it's one of those things that the Academy might be like, Stephanie Hsu is younger. She'll have plenty more opportunities.
I hate when they do that, though.
I hate it when they do it too.
Yeah.
But you gotta give Angela Bassett her due. It's like she should have won multiple times.
Yeah.
She's an icon, and I feel like this is hers to win. But
yeah, and it feels like, you don't have to comment on this, but it feels that, you know, over the past 5 years, we've been really trying to have more diversity in our selection and our nominations. And it feels that this year in particular, that it doesn't feel like token. It doesn't feel like they're just picking people to pick it, but it feels like these people really, their performances are why they are here. And it doesn't feel like anyone's here for just like Angela Bassett. It's long overdue, but that's not why she's here, right? And if there was an ounce of seriousness with Black Panther, it was because of that speech and because of her and her tone that she set for throughout the rest of the film. If there was a sleeper, yeah, I agree. I would like Stephanie to be on here. I don't get why Jamie Lee Curtis is here personally. I thought she was fantastic. I just didn't think she was in it enough. But you know, that's neither here nor there because she was still fantastic. So
yeah, I love Jamie Lee Curtis in general. So I think that she's a solid.
I think that's why
she's a solid actor. And I feel like she's only here because like they wanted to nominate her, but then they forgot that Stephanie Hsu was in it. Like, oh crap, let's throw it in here last minute.
Yeah, you can't nominate Jamie Lee and not Stephanie.
Yeah, exactly. But I don't know. Hong Chow, like the whale, I was a little bit surprised to like see her here, just because I thought a lot of the supporting roles in the whale were a little bit lackluster. They kind of just came and went. Because like I know you haven't seen the whale, but
yeah,
the whale kind of has like a play format. Like it's written like a play, where it's kind of centers around Brendan Fraser, and then you have like these characters just coming in, just like, oh hey, what's up? And it's just like one central location. And Hong Chow, like she has a lot of emotion in her performance, but I just thought it was a little one-dimensional. Like especially like she's an Asian person and Asian character, and it's very stereotypical for like, especially when it's written by a white man. It's like, dude, you don't really know like you don't know what it's like to be Asian. It's like
right. Yeah, and this is another one of these movies to me too that has felt like I don't know who I think A24 distributed, but like, I mean, man, they must have like, I don't think we can call A24 a small like distributor anymore, because like the push that they've used with this, like Sadie, I don't know, like Sadie Sink could be in this film for like 2 minutes, but like they've used her for press, they've used Brendan's sob story, this movie has been pushed so heavily that I just assumed that Hong Choi was like a major part in like a major performance, because it's just been pushed so heavily.
Yeah, like A24 is definitely like improved in marketing like their films.
Yeah,
do award shows because we all know what happened with Moonlight.
Oh God, yeah.
We don't need to talk about that. But
yeah, I usually got the Moonlight poster up there. It's not out here today.
But yeah, I don't know. It's nice seeing A24 get their recognition and them learning from their past experiences and stuff like that.
Yeah, and I know it's a very film bro thing. Oh my God, I love A24, but like I really do think that what they've done for film in the last like decade, I would say, they've really just given us like they've given a platform to a lot of stories that usually aren't told, and like also allow creators to just get different, get weird, get creative, and like we need more of that. And that's what I find so frustrating about Marvel and Disney and Warner Brothers. It's like, I love Ren and Stimpy. Do I need to see Ren and Stimpy the movie? I don't know. You know, like
right.
like you have great IP, but like what we loved about Ren and Stimpy was that Ren and Stimpy was its own thing, and it like in a crowded space, right? And I just think these major studios need to like work on that. And when I think about the reason that Black Panther Wakanda Forever or even Black Panther got so much recognition was because it took that superhero format and treated it as a film first versus superhero thing first. Yeah,
and I totally agree with that. Angela Bassett, just give it to her.
Yeah. Now, I don't know how you feel about this one, but I think this should go to Colin Farrell.
I'm with you on here, Colin Farrell. I think it should go to him. Like his muted performance was so like it was so impactful. Like you felt everything about like this guy losing a friendship, but it wasn't so out there. Like I said, it was muted.
It wasn't. He didn't overact. He didn't overact any of these scenes. They were just. It was like you said. It was simple. I also think, I know that you're not supposed to group, but like his performance of Batman was amazing. After Yang, you know, like he had so many movies that was just so. When I think about 2022, I'm always going to think about Austin Butler's crazy press run and the media pushing The Whale. I'm a big Normal People fan and Paul Mescal. I love Paul Mescal, but I just think Colin Farrell just dominated 2022, and he's so freaking lovable. Like who he is as a person, just such a sweet guy.
He definitely had the Farrell essence in 2022. I don't know. That's not a word, but you know.
No, I know what you mean. It's Pedro Pascal, right?
Yeah. I want Colin Farrell to win, but after seeing the Golden Globes, and I know I keep going back to the Golden Globes, it would be interesting to see like what SAG kind of sides with like a best actor in a leading role.
Yeah.
And see if Austin Butler pulls it out. I think the Academy might be like, hey, you played Elvis. It's like they like to give it the people, they like biopics. The Academy likes biopics.
They do.
And
they do.
Like they gave it to Rami Malek when he played for Queen, even though even he just lip synced, but
I got a Rami Malek autograph right there. I mean, I love it's from Mr. Robot, which is an insane performance, but like that was yeah. And so I mean, listen, if Austin Butler won this thing, right? Would we be surprised? No, I mean, like, the dude is still in character. He's like, he is so locked into this thing. Oh, it was, it was such a profound feeling, playing this man and going down south. Like, dude is so locked into that character that it wouldn't be surprising to me.
I will like to add like one thing. Like everyone's kind of roasting him for that. Like I'm roasting him too because he's just like he's just become Elvis. But I've noticed I talk to a lot of like dialect coaches, like that coach actors into like creating accents, and like when you when you talk like a certain person for like a long time, you will start adapting and you will just kind of grow into it because that's how vocal cords work. And it's like,
totally,
if he was totally in character throughout the entire production, it does make sense that he would just kind of transform into Elvis. So I'm like,
yeah. I mean, I like if I spend a week in Savannah, Georgia, I'm gonna start I pick up that sort of twang. Like when I was in England, I was only there for like 8 months, but like when I would call my family, they'd be like, oh, you have a little bit of an accent picked up there, and like I wouldn't hear it. Like, so I don't think he hears it. I think he's sort of still stuck in it. And when you have to lower your voice like that for such a long time, going back up probably feels strange too. I know Michael Jackson and who's married? God, I'm blanking right now. Swiss Beast's wife.
Shoot, is it? I'm thinking of
Alicia
Jared
Keys.
Leto. Okay.
Yeah, Alicia Keys. Both Alicia Keys and Michael Jackson were talking about how, to get their vocals to where they need, they had to kind of like speak in a falsetto for like 6 months just to kind of get their voice where it needs. And I think when you think about him going low for so long, like I think it makes sense. And let's be honest, I think he did do a good job playing Elvis the person. So it wouldn't surprise me. I wouldn't be like terribly mad. Did you see After Sun? Did you like After Sun at all?
I think I have to rewatch it again because I wasn't really the biggest fan of After Sun, and I blind bought it on Apple TV. It was like $20, and I was like, because I heard like all this praise about it.
Sure.
I thought it was a little slow and a little boring, but I'm really glad to see Paul Mescal here because this is kind of like that little indie darling that could, where you didn't really think you didn't really think it would be nominated for anything, but it was nice. It was nice seeing Paul Mescal just kind of show up like here, and I did think like his performance is really great, like in After Sun. But personally, like I couldn't really, I've mentioned in DMs with you before that I couldn't really relate to the After Sun story just because like I won't get personal things. So
and I think that's fine, and I agree. I think you can't. I don't think there's anyone out here who could like undeniably say, "Wow, After Sun was so action packed or adventure filled." It was just one of those you're watching a character piece basically, and there isn't a lot that happens in it. But this is the indie darling this year, of course. The Licorice Pizza of the world. But if Paul Mescal pulled this off, like I think I'm gonna have to like restrain my girlfriend because she's such a Paul Mescal fan. Like she's like he's another one that gets everyone feral on this. Like Colin Farrell for sure.
Yeah.
All right, actress in a leading role. All I can say is this, and I'm gonna get into my snubs, but Ana de Armas, that film was so terrible to me. I mean, Blonde was such a disgusting mess. I think this film should be studied for, this is not how you transform a biopic, but she was awesome. But I just think when you have such a messy film, I don't think she belongs on this list. I really don't.
Yeah, it says something like when Ana de Armas is nominated for a Razzie and also an Oscar as well. Yeah. Because, it's... I haven't seen Blonde because I didn't care to see it.
Don't.
It's 3 hours of mess. That's what I don't need to see that.
It's not 3 hours of mess. It's 3 hours of I would honestly, if I had the Marilyn Monroe estate, which no one does, because I think her line sort of died with her, right? But it is just defamation and gross, and it felt like trauma porn. And I'm not kidding when I'm not using the word porn in a hyperbolic manner. Like, it was legitimately like trauma porn, and like you get to see the assaults. It's just gross.
Yeah, I don't think I'll ever see it, and I honestly like I understand like kind of like ignoring like the actual movie and just looking at the performance.
Yeah.
But going off of what you just said, and so for someone that hasn't seen like the movie, like if it's a gross performance, like that shouldn't be nominated. That shouldn't be recognized. It's like but to be honest, like I'm looking at the numbers right here. It's like Michelle Williams is like favored.
Opposite. It's the opposite.
Oh yeah, okay.
So,
All right, never mind.
Top is the highest odds, and then the bottom is the
Oh, okay. All right, never mind. I don't go to Vegas very often, so
no, it's okay. Yeah,
but I think Michelle Williams.
It's so the way it works is if you bet $100, you'd get $3,500 for betting.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And if
that
you
makes
bet,
sense now.
if you bet $100 for Michelle, I think you get it's like 13 or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah. But
you only get $35 back. Excuse me. Yeah. So
yeah. But speaking of people that shouldn't be here is Michelle Williams. I think Ana de Armas and Michelle Williams shouldn't be here just because I know you haven't seen The Fabelmans, but I thought that her performance was just very cartoonish and just very flat and just kind of just laughably bad. And I don't understand the praise that she would. I remember sitting in the theater like watching it, and I was just like, this movie is kind of a joke. Like, especially every single time that Michelle Williams is on screen, I'm just like, you'll have to let me know when you see it and see if I'm overreacting to that. But it's just like, I don't know.
From the trailer, I felt the same way. That's why this was on like so low on my list. I knew I was gonna have to see it at some point because I knew it was gonna get nominated. Because the Academy can't help themselves, but this is just not one I was particularly interested in. Ironically, Michelle Williams played Marilyn Monroe, and in that film, I thought she did a much better job than Ana de Armas. So,
right, that's kind of weird that actually worked out. But
now Kate Blanchett versus Michelle,
the title fight.
It's frustrating to me because I think I can't not support Michelle here, and I can't not support a person of color here. And like Kate Blanchett, we know she'll be back. We know the way I look at it is this: Kate Blanchett has a higher chance of returning than Michelle Yeoh because she's a white woman who. She crushes it. She's awesome, but the Academy loves white women. I mean, let's, and so and her performance in this, I think I can make an argument that she had a better performance than Michelle. I think I can. I don't want to, and I don't want that out into the world. I think Michelle Yeoh has to win this.
It's no question. She has to win it.
Yeah.
No question.
Yeah.
I haven't seen Tar. I'll have to report back. I'm seeing it tonight. Hold on.
Okay. And it is a great performance, but like when you add into no, that's okay. It's a great performance, and it's sort of like, to me, if you're gonna ignore the plot and script and all these other things and go with just acting, well, then I think Ana de Armas deserves a better odds than this. But it's not. It's about a lot more of those factors, and that's why I'm like, I don't see how Michelle couldn't be the top person or the top choice for this.
Yeah, I don't. It's kind of hard for me to pick just because I haven't seen Tar, and I hear so many great things. But based on like Kate Blanchett's just whole attitude around this, where she feels like it should go to her and her alone. It's a very selfish like mindset and attitude that she's
a white woman. I mean, like, I'm sorry, it is what it is. Like, I mean, my girlfriend's a white woman, and she would say the same thing. Like, it's they're sort of like when she did a one-on-one. It was her and Michelle, and she was like praising her tooting her horn, but like she sort of had this attitude of like almost like, you know, people act as if white women don't have it as difficult, and it's like, I mean, like, and I think this is something white women do a lot, is like they act as if they're not in the same camp as white men. Obviously, women in general have it worse, but it's like, don't put yourself on the same page as Viola Davis, who's not here. Don't put yourself on the same page. Don't put yourself on the same page as, you know, Keke Palmer or from Triangle of Sadness. What's her? Dolly Leon.
Yeah, Dolly Leon.
Don't put yourself in that same breath, please. You know. Because those women had no chance or no shot being nominated here, and their films probably made more money than Tar. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
exactly.
That's how I feel about it.
The names you just mentioned, you could have easily just swapped out, like Ana de Armas and Michelle Williams, Dolly Leon, put her in there because Triangle of Sadness, Keke Palmer, nope. It's like. And we haven't even mentioned Andrea Riseborough, which I haven't seen to Leslie, but like, you know what I mean? Like, this is just one of these. This category was definitely disappointing to me. Of all the categories, I thought this was a disappointing category because this is a year we had a lot of phenomenal women of color, trans women. You know, we didn't get it. We didn't get it. Yeah, I didn't really hear about like the marketing campaign for Andrea Riseborough, but then I did some research on it, and it's a little disgusting. It's a little disgusting how she got in, just because it's like it's just white people propping up on like more
white people.
Like it's I don't know. Like I know we'll get the snubs a little later, but do you want me to say my snub right now, or do you want? Yeah,
we'll get into it. Let's move to the big one, or one of the bigger ones, because we're right there. We're almost gonna wrap these things up soon, but directing. I'm not gonna spend.
Steven Spielberg doesn't need to be here. He doesn't need to be here.
Yeah, no. If he wins this award, I'm gonna be really, really ticked off. And I haven't even seen The Fabelmans because, to me, it's like I said, it's a passion project. You write a story about mommy and daddy and your own life. It's like, oh my god, dude, read The Room. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
Jeez Louise.
I'm under the whole, like, I'm tired of seeing Steve. Like, I love Steven Spielberg. Like, I love making movies because of him. Like, he sparked my interest. But he's like, I don't know how old he is. He's like in his 80s. Yeah. But it's like he's nominated every single year. It's like, I understand he's the GOAT. You don't need to like recognize him. It's like we know who he is.
Right. It's like giving LeBron the MVP every year, or Michael Jordan. It's like we don't need to get that every year. You know?
Yeah. Exactly. It's I would like to see someone else here, like maybe a woman here, like Sarah Polley. Like, because right now it's totally a sausage fest.
It's always this way too. Always this way.
It's disappointing. But
I mean, even with the Daniels, a duo. Like, I think that's not spoken enough about like duos and friends working together. We need more of that. It's so egotistical, and you know, you go down the list. It's white men, as always.
Yep.
I will say Triangle of Sadness could disrupt and create chaos. I want to see it.
If that's the chaos, I want the chaos. That's the chaos I want. Yeah. Just get the Swede in there. Just the Swede just come in here and just bring the chaos. Yeah. But I will just say that if Daniel Kwan and Daniel Scheinert win, they will be the first duo to win Best Director since the Coen brothers for No Country for Old Men. And that was in 2008? 2007?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It
was
I don't know.
I think we're both pretty set on what that should be.
Yeah.
The Daniels, definitely. All right, so now here we are at the big prize of the year. Woo! I didn't even add women talking on this because it wasn't, the odds didn't even have it on this that high. The only acceptable answer is Everything Everywhere All at Once. I mean, we've gone through this stream praising it the entire time. It's done. Like when you have a film that has so many amazing categories and it just moves the genre. You gotta give, to me, Best Picture should always go to a film that has advanced what we're like, the form, the art form, right? And what Everything Everywhere All at Once has done, it sparked a little fire under these movie studios' ass. It sparked a fire under these indies that, hey, if you give us a great story, we will go out and see it. We will support it. We will push it. And it just doesn't make sense for any of these other ones, really, in my opinion. I will say, going back to white people.
As it always does.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Banshee will relate to a lot more white people than Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Yeah, I feel like it's a toss-up for me. I love Banshees a lot.
I love it too.
Banshees is solid. I just can't.
Yeah, I know. I mean, just think about it. It's Ireland. My grandma and grandpa, right? I relate to it. Like Jamie Lee Curtis was talking about how the story was so relatable to her because she's like, as I've gotten older in age, I've had to, separate my friendships, right? So I think it appeals to that demographic, and that demographic represents 60 to 70% of the voting. The people who actually have a vote. And then when I go back to what I was saying about After Sun, so I saw this film, and this woman, well, after it, she was in her like 60s, 70s. She was like, this was the worst movie I've seen all year. She hated After Sun. And I was like, well, we started talking about who your favorites were. She's like, I really love The Fabelmans. Of course she did, right? And this is a white woman, if that wasn't obvious.
Yeah.
And I mentioned Everything Everywhere All at Once, and she goes, yeah, that was another one that I didn't get it. Like, and I said, well, it's about, it's sort of like this. It's about a story where a younger person or the mother is really apologizing to the daughter, and she's like, she goes, I mean, yeah, I understood that, but it was just so weird and out there, and I think that's what I fear for Everything Everywhere All at Once, is that you're gonna get these old stuffy types that just won't get it, and that's where I think The Fabelmans might sneak in there.
Oh God. I was afraid you're gonna go there.
I know. I don't want it, Marley. If there's a God, if the Fabelmans win, that's all the evidence I need to know that God is not real. Because I mean, it's just,
yeah. I agree with everything you said there. Up until that 60% is like, there's a lot of white people within the Academy, but they have proven that they are bringing on more POCs into the Academy, into the whole voting. Like they're getting more diverse. They're getting more diverse. And I'm seeing Everything Everywhere All at Once getting 11 nominations proves that they're getting younger, they're getting more diverse, they're being more open-minded. And I feel like that obviously this is it has to go to Everything Everywhere. It has to. Like I can't, like, if I get Top Gun Maverick Best Picture, I'm like, I don't want to be on Twitter at that point. I'll log off.
Like, I think if Top Gun or Avatar wins, it may become my first manifesto where I just go live and just rip the industry, because like, I mean, that is, I'm so serious. Like, that can't. And let's talk about that for a second. I think Top Gun and Avatar are here because those are popular movies, blockbuster type movies. That I think we can agree those were entertaining, right? They were good.
I think debatable on Avatar, but
yeah, debatable. Yeah, there was a couple. Yeah. There was a couple scenes in Avatar that you're like, what are we doing here? Why are we still here? But I think they want to give the everyday moviegoer that false hope that these movies could win. And then people show up, they watch, and then it turns out that these movies don't have a shot in hell, right? I mean, those movies don't have a best actor, a best actress, supporting. I mean, it would be ludicrous. So I really think that Banshee is the second most nominated. I think it had 7.
It's at 8, I believe.
8.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Everything Everywhere got 11. So yeah, I mean, this is one of those please don't complicate it kind of moments, right? Don't complicate it. Give this to who it deserves. And sometimes this is what I hate about film bros and film snobs is that because everyone else likes something, they overthink it. Everything Everywhere is great. It's a generational film. We'll be talking about this film probably the rest of our lives. Don't overcomplicate this. Don't be on the Academy nominating or voting committee and be remembered as the year that didn't give it to Everything Everywhere all at once.
We don't want a crash year. We don't want a Green Book year. But thankfully, there's no Green Book this year. Yeah. Thankfully. Yeah. I don't think from this list, this is a solid list. In my opinion.
It is. I think these are all well deserved.
Yeah. But I don't want to see the Elvis. It's like Best Picture, Elvis. No, I'm good. Going back to like what you said about like kind of like appealing to the masses and how like throwing them a cookie a little bit.
Yeah.
I feel like that makes sense for like one film and like Top Gun Maverick, but Avatar doesn't need to be here. Like, where's Babylon? That's what I want to know. Like,
I can't believe people hated Babylon the way they did. It's chaos. It's chaos. I mean because to me, right, even if you didn't love the story, which I think is bullshit anyways, because we know people love Singing in the Rain, and it's basically a modern Singing in the Rain. And you just think about the technicalities that went down to execute that film. And I think because a lot of people have never been on a film set, they don't realize how difficult these things are to execute. Babylon deserves to be on. It does deserve to be in the conversation. It really does.
It really does, and I think that the only reason why it didn't get nominated is because it's not like a pretty movie about filmmaking. Like The Fabelmans is like, it's like that uplifting story. It's like, oh, Steven Spielberg was trying so hard and he finally made it. Babylon is just like,
and I'm sure
Steven
Spielberg has never, I'm sure Steven Spielberg has never been a dick on set, right? He's never, yelled at an extra, right? Like, I mean, that's, and I think they like to believe that's how it actually goes. And when in reality, Babylon is totally how it is. I've been on film.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I've been on sets where like the extras haven't eaten for 6 hours, and you're like, what are we doing here? This is not, and these have been sets that haven't even been like, I'm not gonna name, but like they've TV shows that have been canceled. Put it that way. And it's like, who do you think you are? And I think that's really the reality of the movie and TV industry. Is it's a lot more similar to Babylon than people realize.
Yeah, and I feel for Damien Chazelle is because it feels like he just put his heart and soul into something like Babylon, where he's just kind of like painting what Hollywood truly is, like, and it's a mess. It's chaos, and the Academy doesn't like doing that. And like history shows, they like they like painting the picture like, look at us, we're so beautiful. Look at us. Look how white we know. But
exactly. It's
I hope he bounces back from this and he doesn't get blacklisted by the industry.
Oh god, I know. I mean, it had a very like. It's funny you say that because it reminds me of that Euphoria meme where it's like, is this a play about us? Like that's really how Babylon, I think, the reaction probably was among some of those people. But all right, we're about to wrap this up. We're heading around 2 hours. I can't believe it. We had some great conversation here, but who was snubbed? These are some of the folks that Marley had discussed. So let's talk about them. Let's go down the line a little bit here.
Yeah, Mia Goth. Like, if you've seen Pearl, you know what I'm talking about. Like, I'm really hoping, like, in 2023 or the next Oscars, the Academy will start recognizing horror. Because I know it's like the popular thing to talk about is with Hereditary, with
Midsummer and all those.
All those performances. It's like horror deserves to be in the conversation. And Mia Goth, like, have you seen Pearl?
No, so I haven't, but I know all about it because I've seen the clips and seen that. I'm like, holy shite! Like, this woman she's legit. And I'm not a big horror fan, but whenever I do watch horror or psychological thriller, you know, The Menu, whatever, there's a commonality that those performances are always like make you just go, whoa, this person's acting, you know, and Mia Goth definitely.
It's incredible.
I mean, and when you said what you just said makes total sense. When she wasn't on that list, but like Ana de Armas was and Michelle Wood, I was like, huh? And then Dolly.
Yeah.
This is my first. How the fuck is Dolly not on that list?
Right. Yeah. I don't.
But that film Triangle of Sadness is nominated all over the place. It's insulting when you have a Best Picture nom and you don't give credit to the main actors. And I find that this always happens for two reasons. One, they like to call it an ensemble. Okay, well, make an ensemble category. Or two, it's a person of color.
Yeah. I totally agree. It's just it doesn't make any sense, and it's like I said before, it's just like swap out Ana de Armas and Michelle Williams and put these two Dolly and Mia like in their spot. But and real quickly, I'll just mention, I think we already kind of talked about it a little bit for production design, but like the prop design, like the prop maker, Josh Props, he goes by on TikTok, like follow that account, like he's a really talented like set designer and prop maker, and having it like a movie with like all these like unique like props and just like we talked about like the set design already with like the laundromat and like the apartment. It's like the mise en scène on just like it seems it's a disservice. It's a disservice to Everything Everywhere. Even though they're nominated 11 times, it's like you didn't nominate it for like the one that it was kind of known for, like with the hot dog fingers and googly eyes and like
it's crazy. It's really crazy to me that like with all anyone can talk about being the rock scene and you know, these fingers and all, it's just like are you kidding me? You're really telling me that doesn't get set production? Like, how does that even happen?
Yeah, I don't know. Just like I said it before, it's like take Avatar out. It's like I'm not belittling like visual effects artists because they work hard too, but they're nominated for visual effects. It's like give it to Everything Everywhere. Yeah. And you know, that sometimes is just the Academy. The Academy just complicates things sometimes. They just really complicate things. And like we mentioned this too, it's like the thing that makes me mad about like the whole being of the Academy and like the Oscars is that when it all comes down to it, it's politics. And it's like it should be about the art. It shouldn't be like Michelle Yeoh, like it's been like 20 years. It's something 20 years since like an Asian actor was like nominated for Best Actress.
Insanity.
It shouldn't be. It's like it shouldn't be about the politics. It should be about who performed like the best.
Right.
And it's like.
And another person like that comes to mind with these nepo babies is Bryce Dallas Howard. And I just think of like, not to pick on her, but like, think about it. Her father, famous director, right?
Yeah, Ron Howard.
And yes, Ron Howard. And what? Ron Howard never brought her to set when she was a little kid, right? So think about that. Tyrone, I created this film. I bring my daughter to set. Everyone knows her and loves her. I do my next movie. She's a little bit older. The set and crew, people know. We're like, oh my God, she's gotten so big. It's like you start to have this like emotional connection to this person of like, oh my God, it's like my little sister, right? Think about that with Millie Bobby Brown. I guarantee you, Millie Bobby Brown will win an Oscar one day, because just on the fact that she entered the industry so young, and he has all these people around her. And I think too often when you look at who is nominated for these things, you go to the Wikipedia, you see their father or mother was someone, or they got their big break because they know someone. And it's just so exhausting. And I think the conversation started a little bit this year about these nepo babies, but I think we're just starting to begin with it, because it's just out of hand. Out of hand. And person of color aside, as I said, these performances that these three women put on, it's just crazy. It's crazy that they're not nominated.
Yeah, it's crazy. And like adding on to like the whole nepo babies is like, it's like going back to whole Steven Spielberg, where he used to like hop the fence of like Universal to go work on sets. But
yeah,
I got a little bit mad like when it started, when like towards the ends of the Fabelmans. Like I know you haven't seen it, but spoilers. Yeah. But it's about Steven Spielberg's life. But there's a point in the Fabelmans where he just kind of walks into Universal and just gets a meeting with like one of the head producers, John Ford, and I'm like, you like. I know plenty of filmmakers, especially filmmakers of color, that don't have that opportunity to just kind of walk into like a boardroom and just like pitch like why they should be making movies. It's like not everyone has like that access, and it's frustrating. But I'm also glad like 2022 we started showing that side of the film industry, and people are like, no, we're not gonna deal with this anymore. It's like there's other assets or outlets.
There's a Hollywood roundtable, I believe, with Viola Davis, and if you go, I have like one of the top comments on there. It's a producers roundtable. It's got Viola Davis, Jerry Bruckheimer, Gail Berman, Christy McCosco, and Krieger, and a couple other people, right? Mm-hmm. And Viola Davis in this producer roundtable was talking about how it was so difficult for her to get this film made. And we can move into my snubs because it ties in. Mm-hmm. She's talking about how it was so difficult to get this film made because no one believes in black women leading, and they're playing in these masculine or sort of type of roles. And Jerry Bruckheimer is sitting there. He's like, it's really difficult for us all to get these films made. Like these films, like the stories that we want to tell, the production companies don't want to tell it. And I'm just like, how dare he look at Viola Davis in the eye and say that? And that's where I'm saying the Fabelmans feels tone deaf. Mm-hmm. It's cool. It could be a great movie. It can be celebrated, but like a film about this dude who is already a legend, everyone already sort of knows who he is. I'm sure he's got documentaries and biographies and all this sort of thing. It's like in this year, when we have all of these beautiful, diverse stories and interesting stories and weird stories and creative stories, the Fabelmans just doesn't really fit. Just doesn't fit for me.
Yeah.
And whether you like Nope or not, it was different than something we've gotten. That's what this show should be about. The Academy of Television and Film and Scientific Achievement. What do we do to move the media?
It should be about, like I said, it should be about the art. It shouldn't be about the politics. I actually remember watching that. It's like the round table, filmmakers round table on like Variety. Yeah. I watched the exact video you're talking about, and I can see, in a way, I can see where Jerry Bruckheimer is coming from, because he's the producer for Top Gun Maverick, and Top Gun Maverick, especially the way it was filmed, was super ambitious, and
I get that.
I get it too, but it's just like he's probably saying like, hey, this was hard to get funding for. This is hard to get like insurance. The insurance that you had to secure for like these actors in case something went wrong. But he's also a white producer that can get those checks signed for him. Viola Davis.
Yeah, the fact that he would even the fact that he can even dream about getting that film made is like the privilege that he doesn't get. But all right, so let's wrap this up real quick. So my snub, I had Keke Palmer. And listen, I thought Nope was a good movie. It wasn't the best of the best, and that's something also that frustrates me is like, when black directors or producers or actors, we do any work, for some reason our work always has to get compared. It wasn't as good as Get Out. It wasn't as good as Key and Peele, whatever. When Damien Chazelle, and that's a bad example because I love him too, but you don't hear anyone saying, oh, Babylon wasn't as good as La La Land. They just say, oh, it wasn't a good film. And so I feel like Nope had that going against them, but regardless, if you didn't like the film or not, Ana de Armas got nominated, right? And Michelle Williams got nominated. And Brandon Fraser, you have this whole, oh my God, the return of Fraser, blah, blah, blah. Keke Palmer, what about her return? You don't hear anyone saying that. And so I felt, if she wasn't going to win, definitely should have been nominated. And that was because she added a tone to the film that it needed. If she wasn't in this film, it definitely would not have landed the same way, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's this is what's frustrating for me, is that black people kind of got screwed in this. There's a lot of good nominations, but it's like there's not one black director nominated. You have Brian Tyree Henry, which I'm glad to see him nominated for I think it was Best Supporting.
Causeway? Yeah, I think it was.
Yeah, for Causeway. But I don't know. I don't know if it's it's the Academy kind of reacting to what happened last year. We won't go into that. Right, and they're but why does that? If that was the case, why are you punishing an entire community? It's
and I'm glad that you said it, because I didn't say it, but I'm glad that you said it. That's how it feels. That's definitely how it feels.
I know it's probably not what they intended, but based on what happened last year and what all the nominations look like this year, it's just Viola Davis. I could make an argument Keke Palmer probably couldn't get nominated, because I thought that I thought her performance was good, but I didn't really see it as Oscar worthy. Viola Davis, think is that's an insult. I love the Woman King. It's
same. Yeah, the Woman King in general just didn't get the love it deserved, the push it deserved, the marketing it deserved, and because like she said, I think her name is I can't remember. Is it Gail Berman? There's a producer. But it's or Viola. I don't know, but it's already such a difficult mountain that they were trying to climb with that. And I get where you're coming from with Keke, but my point with the whole Keke snub thing is, if you have Ana de Armas in a terrible movie like that, there's no excuse. You can't say that you can't have Keke Palmer in there. So and that's my whole thing.
Like I said, Ana de Armas was nominated for a Razzie too. that says so much
Right.
about like that whole category. It's like Ana de Armas is like she's the worst actor, but she's also the best. I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. So I'm like,
yeah. And then finally, I spelled it wrong here, I think, but Decision to Leave. Decision to Leave. I mean, this is one of these films, and I have to get the Blu-ray at this point. This is one of those films I hope just doesn't get forgotten, because that's what happens when you don't have something nominated, and I think that's the fear I have about Everything Everywhere is I if it doesn't win, does it start to get quiet after that? Are people talking less about this film because it didn't win? Is it, this movie was all hype but didn't win, right? Because as I said, when you have these stories with people of color at the forefront and they don't get that white validation of the Oscars, it just sort of disappears, right? And it goes into the ether. And Decision to Leave is such a shame that this film didn't get the recognition that it deserved, because it's so beautiful. It's such a beautiful. How would you even categorize it? Is it romance, drama, like comedy?
Yeah,
like,
it's a melting pot. It's a little bit of everything. Like Park Chan-wook is like he's a masterful director. And, but I'll push back a little bit on just because based on like the Academy's history, can you like on all the Best Picture winners that we've had, like it seems like we talk about the ones that don't win like the most.
That's fair.
Like
that's fair.
Green Book was Best Picture. We don't talk about Green Book. Like as we should. We shouldn't talk about Green Book. We talk about like other films that were nominated in that category. Like it's like it's. I know it's very cliche to say, but it's like sometimes it's an honor to be nominated, because it is. But, and that's why it's so heartbreaking that Decision to Leave is like not like nominated. It's like I want people to remember this film. It's like and thankfully that Park Chan-wook has like a really like strong relationship with Criterion. Yeah, and I think he's pushing hard to promote that, and people won't. Criterion does a really good job of pushing like films that like this. So,
correct me if I'm wrong, but In the Mood for Love didn't get a nomination either.
Nope.
so it doesn't. You're right. It doesn't always happen that way. And I know if you go on Mubi, this is the top film on Mubi right now. So I'm glad that people are having a conversation about it, but. Man, it's the Oscars. Every year it seems that there's not enough categories. The international section has 5 for some reason, and the regulars don't. So it's a shame, but hey, that's what the Oscars is.
I mentioned that on my live stream, like when I was reacting to them. It was like, why is Best International only limited to 5? And Best Picture is like, is it because America is better? And it's like, America, Western media is better. We can't fit 5 in there, so we have to have 10. And I'm like,
and honestly, I hate the fact that it's even called that. It should just be called, I don't know, like Best Foreign Language Film or something. Like it just doesn't even make sense, because it's like, what? The only purpose of that category really should be, hey, you Americans, you like to listen to English a lot, check out these that are not in your language. Try reading. Yeah, right. Yeah. Try reading that little bar. Yeah. And other than that, there's really no excuse for it not to be considered in the Best Picture category. And maybe they don't want to have too many for Best Picture where you get 20, but it's like you're talking about the difference in union points. You're talking about certain filmmakers and actors losing money, and there's all these weird things that are tied to it. I think you would have a. I don't know if it would open it up. But I honestly sometimes feel too that what they should do is, and it doesn't really matter, right? Because how do you even have an award for what's best for something that's subjective, right? But it would be nice if after the Oscars, maybe like day after or 2 week after the winners have had their flowers, they release like the top 3 picks or something, you know? That way some of those other films could get a little bit of noise.
Yeah. I don't know. It's just, when it all comes down to it, I forget who said this once before, is that the Academy is kind of like it's not trying to be so vulgar. It's kind of a circle jerk. It's kind of a circle jerk. It's like
it is. Yeah. It is.
Like I know we like to put a lot of stock into it, and I'm guilty of it.
Yeah.
And we spent like the last 2 hours just kind of like
right,
gushing over it. But like when it all comes down to it, it's like it's just the industry just like loving each other, loving itself for the right reasons and sometimes the wrong reasons too. So it's
right. And I think overall, what I as a young filmmaker and young person who was interested in movies, when you're 12, 13, 14, you're in these sort of circles where you don't hear about a lot of these movies because all you get is that mass marketing from, you know, the big 5, Disney, Fox, you know, Warner Brothers, Sony, whoever, you know. And so I used to love when the Best Picture nominees would come out because it would be all these indie movies or movies I've never heard of, and I would just go down that list and watch those movies because I was like, this is storytelling. These are like stories that are gonna move me, you know. So I do think there's definitely good with the Oscars, but as you said, you can't don't give it too much power, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Don't give it too much power.
Like,
all right, man.
Yeah.
Oh, go on. Sorry. Yeah.
I think that's important, but it's like because that's how I grew up watching the Oscars. Like I used to like kind of make it a game and kind of like check off the movies off the list. But now as now as I get older, I'm just like there's other award shows like the Independent Spirit Awards, the SAG Awards. It's like Can
has like I wish like that's my dream is to fly out there because they like recently they were just talking about all these new films that got that presented at Cannes, and I'm like, oh, when is that coming over here? Because like those movies are typically about storytelling, you know. Fundamentally, those are about storytelling, and I know we made fun of Marvel a lot here, but like Marvel just they don't. It's how can we make the most money first? Always. It's never about the storytelling. It's never about even honestly what they're known for the special effects. It's not even about that a lot of times.
Well, go ahead.
All I was gonna say was they have all that money, all the resources, and it's just a shame that the script isn't the first thing that they go after.
I'll push back a little bit on Marvel because I am wearing a Marvel shirt right now. But
no, and I love Marvel. I mean, look up here.
Yeah. Is that the Lego? Is that the Lego?
Yeah, that's the Lego Thanos. This is a gift. It's Miles Morales, and then this is the Wakanda Forever popcorn bucket, like lights up. So
right, I have that same Lego Thanos. That's such a fun build. But what was that black and white like film from Marvel? It's like Midnight by Werewolf by Midnight or something. Werewolf by Midnight or whatever.
Yeah.
Like that. That's something that I want to see more from Marvel, where it's like this cinema. I know cinemas gets tossed around a lot. No,
I know, but that's what it is. It is. It's like it's curated genre pieces, focus, and that's what I've been saying for such a long time too. Is like even that Guardians special. I'm not a big Guardians guy, but like that made me really like the Guardians, and I think lock in and figure out how do I make a mystery film? How do I make a romance film? How do I make a, coming of age story? Like, if they focused in on that and tried to make storytelling and cinema first, I think they'll have better results. They'll appeal to more people, and they'll be taken seriously. I think that's a big thing right now, is people don't take them seriously, because it's like, you have this whole plot about cancer and then you just ignore it. You can't just ignore a plot about cancer. That's a serious thing that affects millions and millions of people,
You're talking about Thor: Love and Thunder?
I am. Yeah.
I don't want to get too much into a tangent, but
yeah.
I just love Thor: Love and Thunder a lot, just because I know it got pushed for being too jokey, but like, if it's a story about cancer, we see too many like stories that are depressing that are about cancer. It was nice seeing Taika Waititi kind of like I don't have cancer, but it's like, if I did, it would be nice seeing like that representation kind of told from like this like lighthearted, jokey way. And I know it's not perfect, but it's like, it was nice seeing something like that. So
and honestly, you're right. I think that you're right. That does make sense. And the reason why I don't want to get into Thor and Love too much, because there are like I'm on the camp too. I didn't think it was the worst thing ever, and it was just recency why I'm thinking about it, because I could rip apart plenty of the other ones, but like, I just think that is an example though, where it's like, it felt like Taika wanted to do this very focused genre thing, and then you have the bigwigs. I can just tell the bigwigs upstairs were like messing with it, and you have to allow people to do what they want. Like Sam Raimi's Doctor Strange, which I did like. I think you were like about it, but but like, that's an example where it's like, let someone cook, and if they fail, they fail. But you have to but all they care about is that return, and that's what I'm saying. It's all about the money at the end of the day for them. And so, making this full circle with the Oscars, I think what I will give the Oscars credit is the movie that they pick typically, if they aren't the best, which I don't think they always are. I don't think it's about best. You can tell that the creator really put their soul and heart into it.
For sure.
Yeah.
As much as I don't like the Fablemans, I know that's a passion project for Steven Spielberg, and I'm like, I totally agree. I echo that.
Yeah.
So
All right, well, that's gonna do it. Make sure you guys subscribe to Marley Loves Film. We will definitely do some more of these. Maybe we'll do like a live on TikTok or live on YouTube here, whatever else. But thank you so much for coming on, man, and spending this 2 hours to just geek out with me about film. If there's anyone who's watched more movies than I have in TV this year, probably this guy. He loves it. That's why his name is Marley Loves Film. So definitely go subscribe and check him out. And again, I thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it, man.
Thanks for having me on. I appreciate the conversation. This was fun. And not really as active as I want to be on YouTube, but 2023, that's my goal, to like make more YouTube content as opposed to TikTok.
And you also Twitch, right? You Twitch a ton, so.
Yeah, I Twitch. So, but I usually just game over there, but because
that's what I do.
but
it's still a great time. It really is.
Yeah.
All right, that's gonna do it for everyone. Thank you for joining us, and as always, we say, just be you, be kind in the comments, and sweet to each other, and we'll see you in the next video. Peace.